Stand by, Pam. Hang on.
All right.
Yeah.
And good morning, Miss Seventh Ward, LA, because it's never a name.
It's David.
Hello, David.
Good morning, Alderwoman.
I think it is. Yeah, oh, it says recording. Okay, Pam, you're good to go.
All right, thank you.
I changed it.
You are ready?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning. I want to welcome everyone to the Health and Human Development Committee for January the 15th, and it is 9:04. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Vice Chair Odenberg. Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Saunier.
Present.
Alderwoman Cox Antwi.
Present.
Chair Boyd.
Present.
Vice Chair Odenberg. Alderwoman Tyus. We have 3 present. We have a quorum.
Thank you so much. I'll ask for the approval of minutes for Tuesday, December the 16th committee meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Vice Chair Odenberg. Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Saunier.
Aye.
Alderwoman Cox Antwi.
Aye.
Chair Boyd.
Aye.
Vice Chair Odenberg. Alderwoman Tyus. We have 3 aye votes.
Okay. On the item board bills we have for review is item number 1, Board Bill 124, introduced by Alderwoman Alicia Saunier. Alderwoman Saunier, you want to respond, speak on that?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. What we have in front of us is Board Bill 124. Board Bill 124 is the city of St. Louis accepting $255,115.69 approximately in order to hire social workers. These social workers would become a part of our problem properties division. So if you're familiar with problem properties, you know that they deal with a number of nuisance properties that usually have folks who are squatting in them or other issues. And so the idea is to have some social workers who could work with those individuals to get them connected to resources in the problem properties day-to-day activities, so that there would be opportunities for engagement with St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department, with the neighborhood improvement specialists, and other departments. But obviously, a lot of times what's needed is kind of case management and other intensive resources. The overall goal of the legislation is just to, have some things to help us to address some of the ongoing violence and some of the ongoing nuisances and issues that we have. And I think this bill is especially timely because we know that there are a lot of federal cuts across the board to vulnerable groups and to supportive housing. And so there's, likely that we'll see a stark and notice increase in encampments and vacant building trespasses and squatting. And so hopefully having these additional social workers to be a part of our processes will help us to engage with addressing those issues in a sustaining and holistic manner and have an additional tool in our toolkit.
Okay, we have speakers. I see we have 2 speakers. So, Maya, you want to speak first?
Hello.
Okay. I'm gonna swear, can I swear both you all in at the same time so we can save some time?
Yes.
Okay. I wanted to swear you all in. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Okay. Miss Maya, you're up.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Mia Wood. I'm the attorney manager. It's okay. I am the attorney manager for problem properties with the City Councilor Office. In my role, I daily work at the intersection of public safety, housing conditions, behavioral health, and community stability. I am here today to speak in support of the city's social work crisis intervention project. To explain why this grant is both necessary and timely from the perspective of those of us working directly with residents, property owners, and the court system. In my day-to-day work, my team and I address vacant and nuisance properties that repeatedly generate police calls, code violations, and too often gun violence. What we consistently encounter is that legal enforcement alone does not resolve these situations. Many of the individuals involved, whether property owners, tenants, defendants, or victims, are experiencing mental health crisis, substance use disorders, housing instability, or extreme economic hardship. These conditions drive repeat violations and continued system involvement. Right now, when these issues or those issues surface, we rely on informal ad hoc referrals to already overburdened nonprofit partners. There is no dedicated embedded professional responsible for assessment, follow-up of continuity care. What this grant would allow us to do differently, it would allow us to embed 3 licensed social workers directly into our work, 2 frontline social workers and 1 supervisory master level social worker. These social workers would be integrated into, as already indicated, the problem properties unit, but they also would assist with the municipal prosecution special assistance docket, which handles approximately 700 to over 1,000 cases each year, involving defendants with significant behavioral health needs. And that could be mental health, substance abuse, but if there is some kind of diagnosis, or we believe there's some kind of diagnosis that is causing them not to understand what they're facing, we want to get them there so that they can get the assistance that they need. This changes our response from a reactive enforcement to an early coordinated intervention and at pre-arrest, pre-trial, and divergent stages. So why here and not a different board like public safety? From a health and human development perspective, this project treats gun violence and nuisance conditions as a preventable public nuisance issue. It improves access to mental health and substance use services. It strengthens housing stability and economic mobility. It reduces trauma for residents living in high crime areas. So at least that is our goal. Again, can't guarantee that, but that is our goal. Again, speaking of goals, when we stabilize individuals, it's our perspective, we stabilize properties. When we stabilize properties, we stabilize neighborhoods. And so tying it all together, we hope that you all support this and we're asking for your approval. Thank you.
And I'll let Bo speak and then the committee could ask questions. Is that okay with everybody? Okay. Bo?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. In the spirit of what Ms. Wood just did, I also have a prepared statement I'd like to read to everybody today. So first and foremost, I want to say good morning to everyone. My name is Bo Richmond, and I serve as the Health Services Manager and Chief of the Behavioral Health Bureau for the City of St. Louis Department of Health. Thank you, Madam Chair, and members of the Health and Human Development Committee for giving me the opportunity to speak before you today. I appreciate it. The Department of Health appreciates the city's leadership in pursuing the State Crisis Intervention Program Grant, or SIP. This initiative presents a significant opportunity to enhance the city's response to complex, crisis-driven situations that intersect with behavioral health, public safety, and overall community well-being. This is a new program marking the first time the city has designed and implemented an initiative of this nature. The SIP grant would add dedicated resources that are currently lacking or in some instances do not exist within our response systems, our current response systems. These resources would supplement the existing workforce, reduce instances where city staff are stretched beyond their scope, and complement work already being done by city departments through specialized behavioral health expertise. The Department of Health's role is to provide behavioral health and systems level expertise, ensuring that this program is operationally feasible, practical, and aligned with both city and Department of Health priorities. Our focus is on supporting cross-departmental collaboration, clear coordination of roles and responsibilities, and outcome-oriented action. This approach emphasizes true case management rather than incident response alone. It strengthens how residents are supported in navigating city systems and services, particularly in complex or recurring situations, and promotes coordinated cross-departmental work rather than siloed efforts. Most importantly, it's structured to identify and address root causes that drive repeated interactions with city systems. The SIP-supported model has the potential to reduce repeat or escalating crises, improve resolution timelines, and support more appropriate health-informed responses. Outcome metrics would include things like fewer nuisance property designations, faster issue resolution, increased informal engagements, and stronger community connections overall. Over time, this approach aims to reduce recidivism and promote long-term stability for individuals, families, and neighborhoods. And in closing, I'd like to say the Department of Health views SIP as a crucial opportunity to enhance the city's behavioral health infrastructure in a thoughtful and coordinated manner. We look forward to continued collaboration to ensure this program is implemented responsibly and with a clear focus on meaningful outcomes for residents and city systems. And I'd just like to say I thank you all for your time today, your continued support in our efforts to drive health-driven solutions. Thank you.
Okay, so at this time, we'll ask the committee members, does anyone have any questions? So Alderwoman Sonia, do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions. I'm just really happy to see this moving forward today. I don't have any questions.
Okay, Alderwoman Jamie Cox Antwi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, I just want to echo Alderwoman Sonia and thank her for bringing this bill forward. I think this opportunity is really, really important. I know myself and probably many of our colleagues have experienced, working directly with the Problem Properties Unit and understanding just how much work you all do each and every day. So I think the opportunity to bring some assistance and support, especially in the skill of social service, makes a lot of sense to me. And quite honestly, I wish we had this a long time ago. But that being said, I'm glad that this is moving forward, and I do want to express my support for it. I just have one question. With the current grant application that we're going forward with, what's the duration of the program that it would cover, and would the city need to reseek dollars from this grant program?
Let me answer. Okay. So it's through 2027. I don't know the exact month. So it would give us at least a year of funding, and we would need to. So the way the program is, we are looking at it as a pilot so that we can show one, that it is beneficial. And then from there, we'll either reapply for additional grants or assume there's another way that we can fund the program moving forward.
Okay, thank you so much for that. And again, I think it'll be great. And I'm sure the city of St. Louis and all of you and your team will show exactly, how much this could be a benefit to us during the time that the program is active if we move forward. So with that, I don't have any further questions, but I would like to move that we embank this bill.
Second.
Previous row. No objections to previous row, so this bill is embanked.
Yay.
And so I do have questions. Alderwoman Antwi, she asked one of the questions, duration of it. And so thank you attending our hearing, Mia and Bo, in regards to this grant. I guess my question, I know St. Louis Police Department has a similar process like this, where they have a social worker that goes to these scenes. So how is this working? Are you working in conjunction with them, or are you working in addition? I mean, how is that working? Because they have a social worker that goes to scenes, and now they have it where people, and I don't know if Bo is aware of it, they have it where people can call 911 and request, instead of the police, they can request mental illness or some issues going on, and the social worker comes to the scene. So is this working in conjunction with them?
I definitely would let Director Wood respond, but I know I had like a similar question too. And from my understanding, what was expressed is that the social workers that are a part of the police department are supposed to be following the 911 calls in their queue and go along with that process, which is not necessarily the same process that is within the Problem Properties Division, because Problem Properties may be at a property that it wasn't a 911 call, but they're going through their process to mitigate an issue. So the idea is like you wouldn't just have to rely on 911 and the social workers that are there that, to be honest, are overworked and always in demand, that this would be additional resources specifically for the Problem Properties Unit to use. Again, thinking when they go and take action on properties and they find folks inside, they will have social workers that are part of their department who can address their issues, where they wouldn't have to necessarily just rely on 911 and their social work in their queue, because when you're talking about 911, they go in terms of priority. And so for them, their priorities are going to be active crimes that are happening, as opposed to a problem properties place where, yes, there may be squatters or there may be incidents in there, but they obviously have a whole city full of 911 calls to respond to.
Okay, so, and I hear what you're saying, but when that program first came out, people were instructed not to call 911. They said you should call 231-1212 and request a social worker because it is behavior issues. It could be a squatter or whatever. And that's why I was trying to see what difference is this as to that one.
They don't have to call. This would be under the problem properties division. So they wouldn't need to engage with the 911 queue or call that process, because they would have their own staff that are specifically dedicated to deal with the issues that come with problem properties.
Okay. Did anybody else want to respond?
Well, I was just going to give like a real life example of how this playing out, and it actually happened in your ward. And they remember there was a property off of VRC. Once we intervened, and I think that initially it was just about code violations. But once we got in, we realized that the mother had behavioral health issues. I want to say a prior history of a mental diagnosis that was at the time not being currently treated. She had, I think, 3 small children, but they were not small, but it was the youth that was kind of terrorizing the neighborhood at the time. But once we got involved, like just dealing with the code violations wouldn't have solved the issue that family was dealing with. And that pulled on a lot of our heartstrings, because once we got involved, we saw all the trauma, we saw all the abuse. We saw things that if we just had someone that we could refer them to, that we felt like we would have better served that family than just dealing with the code violations. So that is why we're advocating for having social workers, because when you go into someone's property, like when in their home, that's where you learn a lot about what that family is undergoing. And as a group of attorneys, we don't usually feel like we have this, like the tools to be able to assist. And we're just kind of shifting the problem, unfortunately, to another part of the city, and they're really not being addressed. And I see Bo hand up. So that is just like from my personal experience in my day-to-day, that we see that makes our job very challenging in trying to deal with the compliance element of things. Go ahead, Beck.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, Mia. Bo?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, just to add to what Mia had just shared, I think this approach actually creates a situation where it's a bit more proactive versus reactive. It doesn't mean that we still won't receive phone calls like we do, or notifications that there's a need for something like this related to outreach or an intervention. But I think it just gives us that much more of an opportunity to be proactive in this approach and very intentional with this approach. And I think, we both kind of mentioned this earlier. I think it really supplements the current workforce that's out there doing this, because right now what we tend to see is people that in their scopes, their day-to-day jobs, they're stretched a little bit, and sometimes put in situations where they have to function in this kind of case management space, and they're either not as well equipped to do that, or they don't have the bandwidth to do that. So I think it actually creates a couple different opportunities for us that are slightly different than the one that currently exists.
Okay, so I think, and thank both you all for your insight. And Mia, I do remember that, but I think, and if I'm off, please tell me. What I'm thinking is, we got to that point on Gershie because, one, we were supposed to, it should have been where the police had the social worker come at the scene with that property. That should have been the first thing. And 2, communication. I just think it's no communication. And Mia and I have had these conversations before. It's because the nuisance office, everybody's in silo, and nuisance is trying to pull things together. And so I think until we bring people together and communicate, it's not going to improve any system that we have. And that's my frustration, because I want to thank Mia publicly, because I pulled on her string, on her heartstring, and kept pushing about the Gershie property. I was like, look, this is not okay what we're doing. And so she took it upon herself to move it to the next level. And so that's what my frustration is. I don't want us having all these extra things, but nobody's communicating to address the overall issue. So if somebody's house is falling down, you don't just give them violations, you look in the house to see why it's falling down. And that's where I think we're falling short as a city. We don't do it as a holistic approach. We only do a one-piecer, and that's where my issue is. And so my other thing was, have you all already hired or have people lined up for these positions?
No, ma'am. So we have piloted through using interns for the last, I don't know, I'll say about a year. We've had social worker interns within the Problem Properties unit. At this very moment, I do not have one actively here as of today. But no, we have to, of course, like we just got awarded the funding and we didn't realize that we were going to get the funding with this kind of climate. So now that we were, notified, we're just taking the formality steps and making sure that we have the approval to be able to accept the funding. And once we do that, then we will post and try to hire. But we have, like the local social workers, schools are familiar with us through those programs where we've been doing the internship. So I'm hoping it won't be a challenge. I mean, we're trying to be competitive even with the salary ranges. So 255,000 for 3, and it's only right now for a year of funding. I think we should be able to get some good quality social workers to hit the ground running. That's the goal, at least.
Okay. And my last question is, in the climate that we have politically in regards to programs, and I know you all heard about the cuts that had happened, how they had shut them down and start them back up. Do you think this grant will be in jeopardy of that from Washington?
I think that that's kind of part of the issue with getting the funds. I think there was some unsureness and confusion about whether or not like the grant would be given the federal administration in the first place. It's hard to predict like what's coming or, what's coming in the future, but I think that's why they're saying this is a pilot and we're hoping that if we do this well, then these funds will be there to apply for again, understanding that obviously things like this are not in the high list of priorities of the current federal administration, but just hoping that if we do this right, then maybe there will be an opportunity to do it. Because I think even getting these funds was a shocker given, our current federal climate.
Right. Okay. And I think that's all I have. Thank you all very much. And so, do we have any speakers? Anybody wanted to speak for or against the bill?
We have none.
Okay. All right. And so, Alderwoman Sonia, you're ready to close.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman and members of the committee. I've certainly learned something about what Alderwoman Boyd must kind of think through regularly when she's, accepting grants and learning about all the technicalities and things that come with them. So this has been a great experience. I'm really appreciative of the Problem Properties Office of both Ms. Wood and Mr. Richmond for being here today. I think what really kind of most excites me about this program is that I think that a lot of times there's a cycle of individuals who are the same individuals that are causing these types of nuisance issues, and they're just repeatedly cycling, whether they're kind of going to the jail or the ER, but not really getting connected to any real services. So I'm really excited about the opportunity to kind of intervene in that cycle and prevent, escalation by hopefully having an opportunity to provide some real consistent follow-up and case management resources when we find folks within our properties. And I really am appreciative to the chairwoman for letting me come out before you. And with that, I would ask for you all support with a favorable do pass recommendation for Board Bill 124.
Could we get a motion?
I move that we pass Board Bill 124 with the do pass recommendation.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Are we gonna do a previous roll?
Yes,
Previous
ma'am.
roll.
Previous
Yes.
roll.
Yeah, that works.
All right. Thank you all so much for getting up early and coming in, and we appreciate you all. So we appreciate the work that you're doing, and we look forward for better things to happen. Thank you. So on that note, Miss Sonia, you have a appointment, Andre Blaylock. Are
I-
they here?
No, I think we'll have to hold it.
Okay, all right. Okay, so we don't have any resolutions for review. We're going to put on hold Madam Clerk Andre Blaylock for the next committee hearing.
So no.
We don't have any written testimony. We have any announcements? Okay, excuse members is Alderwoman Tyus and Alderman Oldenburg. And I ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you so much.
Thank
You
you.
all have a good day.
Thank you, Alderwoman.
Stay warm.
Yes, ma'am.